I am so excited to introduce Bob Heilig, your virtual upline. Oh, how many of us rely on his live videos to train us, to help us feel empowered, to help us be better network marketers? I know that I do, and I know you guys should too, because his videos are shared on this team page all the time. So I cannot tell you how grateful we are to have you on tonight, and cannot wait to hear what you have to share with us.
Yeah, well, I am super excited to be here. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right, cool. So I want to thank Jacqueline first and foremost for having me. And she had asked me. She said, "Hey, the team has been following you and promoting your videos, and we love what you do. And would you consider doing a training for us?" I said, "Absolutely. Anytime I have a chance to be able to give back and show some gratitude and thanks to people that have been supporting me and what I do, I'm always happy to do that. And my hope is anytime that I do one of these trainings that I can give you a couple of things. Always want to give you some inspiration and motivation to do more in your business, and believe that it's possible for you to achieve whatever dream or goal you have. But at the same time, I also am really big on giving you actionable strategies, right? So I want to be able to give you hopefully one or two things at least tonight that you can take and start applying to your business immediately to start creating better results. Because I think at the end of the day, that's really what we want. So, I want to focus tonight, though. I want to focus talking to you about really about mindset. Because I think from an entrepreneurial standpoint, I've been in and around the network marketing profession for over 10 years now. I spent over 10 years as a representative, and in the last almost 2 years, I've built a training company that's focused on teaching and helping people in the network marketing profession. And over the span of those 10 plus years, I've worked with and met at this point literally tens of thousands of people that are inside of this profession. And I've seen all varying levels of success. I've seen people that struggled and really weren't sure whether they had what it took to be successful in a business like this. And then I've also worked with very, very high level 6-figure, 7-figure earners before. And I see one common theme. Mindset is always something that we need a reinforcement with. And, I think that one of the reasons why I believe my training is so popular with people is I can relate to you no matter where you are on that scale. I'll share with you really briefly a little bit about my story. My first year in network marketing was not what you would consider stellar. Matter of fact, it was a complete failure by most people's standards. I wasn't able to recruit a single person, and I was able to acquire 2 customers. And one of those was myself. And I remember my mentor told me, he said, "Listen, if you can't get yourself as a customer, this might not be the right business for you." So I knocked that one out pretty quickly. And then obviously the second person I went to was mom, and I guilted mom into buying the products, right? Because I was her son. And but that was pretty much the extent of my success in my first year. And I think back and I remember how difficult that was. Attending the meetings, going to the trainings, thinking I was building a business. Looking back, it was very clear to me that I wasn't. And I'm going to talk to you tonight about a couple of the big aha moments that I had that allowed me to kind of change things. But I'll tell you, one of the things that I'm most proud of in that first year especially is that I didn't quit. Even though I was facing all that adversity, and even though there were so many moments of self-doubt and discouragement, because it just, I saw people around me that it was happening for them and it wasn't happening for me. And I remember thinking, man, what am I doing wrong? Why not me, right? So I remember what it's like to be there, and I understand that person. So if you're watching this tonight and you're feeling like that, I'm definitely going to share some things tonight with you that can help you. But then I've also been on the other side, right? I've built big businesses. I went on to earn 7 figures in the profession. My largest team that I built was well over 100,000 people. But I remember being on that other side where you're still slipping back into some of that same negative thinking and self-doubt, which sounds silly when you're like, you're making a lot of money and you're building a big team, but it's human nature for us to slip back into that negative, mindset that keeps us from achieving and constantly growing. And here's one of the biggest things for me that changed, because a lot of people are like, well, what was the thing that allowed you to get over the hump? And I'm going to tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, it was this. It was my willingness to start to face my fears and take action. See, I'm going to explain to you pretty much my entire first year in network marketing looked something like this. I was scared to death to do almost everything that they were asking me to do. I was scared to death to go talk to people that I knew, especially people that were already a little bit more successful than I was. I was scared to death to give a presentation and speak in public. I was scared to death of the simple thought, like it was interesting because I wanted a team so bad. Like I remember thinking, man, if I just had a team, but if I was honest with myself, the thought of me having a team scared me to death. Because I remember thinking, well, all right, what if I get a team? And now they're looking at me for support and leadership. And here I am not even really believing in myself. How am I going to help others? So my business, I was surrounded with fear. And it was the thing that was really keeping me from showing up every day with confidence and belief and doing the things that I needed to do. And here's where things shifted for me. I started to learn that fear is not a bad thing. Fear is actually, now we're going to assume that we're not talking about you're in a situation where you're in mortal danger, right? But when you're experiencing fear as it relates to being an entrepreneur and things that you're being asked to do, it's an indicator. It's a sign. See, when you fear something, what it's really your soul telling you is that this is the thing that if we were to actually commit to doing would be the very thing that could create the breakthrough that we're looking for. And deep down, we know that, right? Like, I'll give you an example. If you've been following me, I talk till I'm blue in the face about you got to do live videos. And everybody hears it and they're like, I know I should be doing it, but it scares the hell out of me thinking about going on and going live. But you fear it only because you deep down desire and know that it could help you if you could get over that. So here's what I learned how to do. I learned how to start using fear as an indicator. I started using fear as a compass. And I started looking at these things in my life that I was fearing. And I said, oh my God, if I can just muster up the courage to do it, even though I feel that fear, and just get just on the other side of that amazing things could happen. And I'm going to share a story with you now that was my first big example of that. So, and if you've heard me talk about this before, then just bear through the story again. But one of my worst fears my entire life has been public speaking, right? And I share that a lot, and I know people are like, yeah, right, there's no way, right? Like, there's no way you're afraid of public speaking. But what a lot of people don't understand about me is I'm very introverted by nature. You ask my wife, she'll tell you, like, there will be times where we'll go out to dinner with a number of couples that I don't really know. And if I'm not in like a setting where it's business or work related, where I need to be on, like, I can turn it on if I need to. But if left to my own device, I'm very quiet and reserved. And I'll go, like, literally, we'll have a whole dinner and I'll barely say a word, and she'll get mad at me. She'll be like, what's wrong with you? Why didn't you say anything? And sometimes I just don't feel like talking, right? I don't really like the sound of my own voice. That's how I am. Now, I forced myself to change that, but here's how it happened for me. I was in my first network marketing company. It was about, it was 6 or 7 months. I hadn't even had any success, but apparently, what we usually do as leaders, if we see someone that's like new in the business, that we see some promise, right? Maybe they're sharp or they're personable, and we want to try to take them under our wing, and we want to try to, push them to do things that they normally wouldn't do. And a big part of that is we try to get people to speak in public, right? I remember my sponsor told me, and he was, man, if I could go back to that moment when he said this to me, I'd have known he was lying through his teeth. He goes, oh, you don't ever have to give a presentation. I'll just do it for you. Lie. That's not true. If anybody's ever told you that, they're lying to you, because eventually they're going to make you give a presentation, because they're not going to do it for you forever. So there I was, right? Little old me, 6, 7 months in the business. It was a Saturday morning at the Philadelphia airport. We were at the Ramada. I remember like it's yesterday. It was the Ramada Inn. And we used to do a Saturday morning training for our business. And it wasn't a lot of people. There was maybe less than 30 people there. And I remember coming in, and my mentor, Mike, came up to me and he said, "Hey, man," and he said it so casually, right? And he goes, "Hey, we want to have you open up the meeting today." And I remember like looking at him, I was like, "You're joking." He goes, "No, no, no." He goes, "You'll be fine. All you got to do is just get up there, say hello, tell everybody to turn their cell phones off, whatever, whatever, whatever." And I remember this moment of just like, you know when it's like you can't see anybody around you anymore? You just become in like this dark circle and you start sweating and your heart starts beating. Well, that was me. And I remember having this moment, like this real moment, where in my mind I said, I think I'm just going to leave. Like, I'm just going to walk out. Like, I was that scared. I was like, I'm just going to go. And then I remember, all right, well, let me play this out. If I go, I can't ever come back. So I can't do that. So I'm going to have to do it. And I remember sitting there, and it might have been 5 minutes, and it felt like to me like 5 hours. I'm rehearsing what I'm supposed to say when I get in front of the room. Mind you, there's like 25 people in the room. I walk up to the front of the room. I have a glass of water in my hands, right? Because I figured, well, let me have something in my hand so I'll feel more comfortable. That was a big mistake. I'm shaking so bad, I'm spilling the water on my hand. And they're standing in the back of the room trying to message me, "Hey, put the water down." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I don't remember what I said. I mean, it was terrible. Like, when you open a meeting up, you introduce the speaker, and they walk to the front of the room, and you just wait for them to come, and they shake your hand, and they say something nice about you, whatever. I was so scared. I introduced the speaker. I sat right in my seat, and there was this awkward like minute of him walking to the front of the room where I wasn't there to say hello. And he was just like, "Okay, let's give it up for Bob. Great job." And I sat in that front row, and I was mortified. I got up, right? I got up at the end of the meeting, and I tried to beeline it out of the door. I'm thinking they're going to just probably kick me out of the company because I just ruined the whole meeting. And what do you know happens? If you've ever been in this position, people start grabbing me, and what do you think they said to me? "Oh, you did such a great job. That was so good." And it was like, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, "You're lying right to my face," because it wasn't good, right? But I got over it, and I went, and there's a point in me telling you this story, by the way. I get in my car, and I remember sitting in my car, and it was like, I don't know, it must have been December, and it was cold, and I'm waiting for the heat to, and I'm looking at myself in the mirror. And as like just totally ashamed and embarrassed as I was, I remember having this moment where I said to myself, "That's never going to happen again. I will never be in a position where I do that bad." Because I said, all right, I know that if I want to be successful in a business like this, I've got to get over this fear. And I remember that was the moment when I really started to work hard on trying to become better in that area. And here's what was interesting. After about a month or so, when I finally was able to say my name and remember what I wanted to say, I actually started to realize I'm pretty good at this. Like, I can get in front of the room and actually kind of like motivate people. And I would have never have guessed that. And that one event and that one experience set me off on a path of over the next 10, what turned into 15 years of literally every single day working on facing my fears, getting better when it comes to communicating and speaking. In the me you see today, this is a 15-year piece of work, right? If you would have been in that room that first time I spoke, you would have been like, "There's no way." But what's the lesson here? Here's the lesson. That sometimes the things that we fear the most are the very things that we were meant to do. And it's so crazy to me to think about. I'm sitting here right now, and I'm talking to 63 people from all over the world that I've never met, and every one of you is looking at me, and that would have given me like heart palpitations 15 years ago. And I'm sitting here, and I'm talking, and I'm motivating and inspiring. Like, I earn my living through my words. And the thing that I feared the most of my life is how I make my biggest impact. It's my calling. It's my purpose. So by sharing that, here's what I want you to think about. What are the things that you're fearing? Are you fearing going and prospecting those successful people that you know? I will tell you there's a reason why you're fearing that, because that's the very thing that if you did would turn your business around. Are you fearing giving your first presentation? Are you fearing being a leader to others? If you're fearing being a leader, I would argue you're born to be a leader. And if we can just start to change our relationship to fear, our life can start to transform in amazing ways. There's a book that was written about this entire concept that I'm talking about. It's called The War of Art. And it's by a gentleman by the name of Stephen Pressfield. And I would highly recommend it to any of you that are struggling with fear. And when I read this book, the first sentence of the book, I remember reading and I had to set the book down. It was that powerful to me. And here's how the book starts out. Starts out saying this: most of us have two lives, the life that we live and the unlived life within us. And I remember reading that and I was like, holy crap. And the book goes on to talk about the thing that keeps us from that unlived life. That unlived life within you is the greatness that is inside of every single one of you that is waiting to get out. See, every one of you, what you don't realize is you have a gift that only you can give the world. And if you don't give that gift in your lifetime, the world will be less. And fear is the thing that keeps us from realizing that greatness. Here's an interesting statistic. 400 trillion to 1. Those are the odds that you were even born. Here's another way to think about this. Put it in perspective for you. You would be more likely to hit the lottery 9 times in your life than you are even the odds to be here tonight on this webinar. So think about that for a minute. And I want you to think about how many times we don't give ourselves credit for that greatness that's inside of us. Here's my message to you. You don't have to be anybody but yourself. And you can absolutely crush it in this business and you can change people's lives. Here's what you have to learn how to do, though. You've got to learn how to become a better version of yourself every single day. Stop comparing yourself to other people. You will never achieve greatness if you measure your own self-worth and ability against others. Here's the reason why. When we compare ourselves to others, and I spent the first couple of years of my business doing this, here's what we do. We take all of our worst qualities and we compare those to what we see as that other person's best qualities. And we don't really truly know all the other stuff that's behind that other person's story, and we can't ever live up to that. So what I learned how to do was I learned how to compare myself to myself. And I started asking myself a question: am I better today than I was yesterday? And if we can just incrementally start to improve, right? Like if you could get just 0.3% better each day, right? Like 1/3% better. Now that might involve you reading 10 pages of a good book today. Maybe it involves you actually getting over that fear and doing a video today. Or then maybe tomorrow it's talking to a prospect that you've been putting off. Or listening to a podcast, or instead of listening to the radio, listening to a tape that can change the way you think. Like I'm talking about 1/3% every day. There's no one here that can't do that if you focused on that. Well, here's what's interesting about that. You become 1/3% better every single day at the end of 1 year. You are 100% better than you are today. You can literally improve 100% in any area of your life. See, but here's what we have to do. We got to give ourselves time. Listen, I'll tell you the secret to success and the reason why most people are not successful. Success is boring. It's boring. Most people won't do the things they need to do every day long enough to get to the results that they want, right? We live in this microwave society. A lot of people are lazy. A lot of people don't have the work ethic, right? One of my other favorite books, it's called The Slight Edge. And The Slight Edge says that by the time you see the results that you want, 90% of the work is done. See, what we have to learn how to do is this. We have to learn how to start to focus on activity and not results. See, that's where most people go wrong. That's where I went wrong my entire first year. So this is what I would do. I remember my sponsor would tell me, he would say, my mentor, Mike, he'd say, listen, Bob, you got to be coachable. He's like, you got to do the right things. He's like, listen, he introduced me to this concept of income producing activities. He said, there's only a handful of things that you can ever do in a business like this that are going to actually make you money. He goes, you can talk to new prospects. He goes, you can present your products and services and opportunity to those prospects. Once you present, you can follow up with them, and then you sign them up. That's it. There's like 4 things. There's not much else. Right now, you might call it different things, and maybe you might argue there might be a 5th, but that's pretty much it. And he said, here's your problem. He goes, if I were to follow you around over the course of a week with a stopwatch, tracking exactly how many seconds, how many minutes, how many hours you are spending doing those 4 things, he goes, I bet you it would be a rude awakening for you. And I remember I said, all right, I'll take that challenge. And I remember tracking it, and I was like, okay. Because I would argue this, most people that are in network marketing are exactly like I was in my first year. I probably wasn't spending more than 1 to 2 hours a week doing those things. I mean, how long does it take to talk to someone? How long does it take to present, right? And then, but here's what happens. At the end of the week, we spend maybe an hour or 2, if we're lucky, working our business, and then we don't get a big check, and we're like, oh man, I'm so frustrated. I'm like, yeah, but you're not working. Like, if you did that at your job, would you be frustrated if your boss didn't pay you? You wouldn't even have a job for more than a week or 2, but we don't apply that same philosophy to our business. So what I started to do was I was like, all right, I get it. Income producing activities, I'm going to start doing it. And I remember I woke up on a Monday morning, I was fired up, I was motivated, and I was like, I'm going to work, right? And then Monday, I crushed it. Tuesday, crushed it. Wednesday, kind of crushed it. Thursday, had a pretty good day. Friday, weekend was coming around, right? My boys, we were going out to happy hour, didn't really do much that day. Saturday, Sunday, and then here I am next Monday. I'm like, wait a minute. I've been doing this for 7 days, and I don't see anything happening yet, right? I fell right into the trap of what most people do. They focus on results. And what I just shared with you right there, that was the story of my life, my first year in network marketing. I would do the right thing for a short period of time. I would get discouraged because I was focused on results, not activity. And then I would stop and I would quit. And then I would start up again. And I never sustained the consistent effort and activity long enough to develop the momentum and excitement that would lead me to the results. Here's the rub. I share this with people and they're like, yeah, but how long am I going to have to do it? I'm like, I don't know. It's different for everyone. Some of you might get lucky. You might do it for 7 days and get that new recruit. You might do it for 7 days and sign up a new customer. Others, it might be 14 days. So I don't know how long, but here's what I know. If you just keep doing the simple things every day, you will get the results 100% of the time, right? Sounds pretty easy, and it is simple, but it isn't easy. And the reason why it's not easy is because by doing the simple disciplines, by following the income-producing activities, it's going to force you to remain uncomfortable in your business. See, because the things we're talking about, although they are simple, they're not easy. Because sometimes it's scary talking to people. So, what if they say no? What are they going to think of me, right? Sometimes it's scary giving a presentation. What if I'm not good enough, right? What if they ask me a question I don't know how to answer, right? Sometimes it's scary following up. Sometimes it's scary, right? It's scary and it's uncomfortable, but here's what you have to learn how to do. You have to learn to live in an uncomfortable state. See, another thing that I've learned about growth is the moment you become comfortable, the moment you stop growing, you start to die. There's only two states. It's growth, or you're either increasing or decreasing. There is no middle. And that's one of the things that I fell into a trap. I'll give you a little bit of a leadership tip here. A lot of you will achieve a level of success. You'll think you'll have arrived because you got the pin in the promotion, and then you'll stop doing the things that got you to where you are. You'll stop doing those income-producing activities. You'll stop reading and learning and growing and acquiring new skills, and slowly but surely your team will start to follow. See, even as a leader, we have to constantly be facing those fears, stepping and going to that next level, and that's going to require us to step outside of what's comfortable for us. But that's where the magic happens. Now, another thing that I like to talk a lot about is vulnerability, because I truly believe that in order for us to achieve great levels of success, we have to become vulnerable in our business. A lot of people, vulnerability is very scary, but I will tell you, vulnerability is the ultimate demonstration of strength when it comes to being an entrepreneur. Now, what is vulnerability? Well, vulnerability is you being willing to put yourself out there when you're prospecting and recruiting. Vulnerability is being willing to share your story to people, let them know, hey, don't be afraid and ashamed that you're in a network marketing business. Be proud, be excited about the products that you represent, about the type of the profession that you're in. Vulnerability is talking more about your failures than you do your successes as a leader. See, I remember when I first started to get a team and people that were following me, I felt like I thought I had to put up this wall of invincibility. Like I wasn't a human being. Nothing ever fazed me. That I was, I never wanted to talk about my struggles or the fact that I still was, dealt with these moments of struggle, because I didn't want anybody to see any chinks in my armor. I thought that my team needed to look to me as strength. And where I missed an opportunity was connecting with my team. See, guys, here's the thing I've learned. If you want to impress somebody, talk about your accomplishments and your strengths. But if you want to connect with someone, you need to talk about your failures. People connect with your weaknesses, not your strengths. So if you're in a situation where you're prospecting someone, don't talk about how great you are and how successful your business is. Talk about the struggles that you dealt with in the early days and the struggles you dealt with in your career or your business prior to joining your company. But don't do it from a woe is me type of a situation. But hey, listen, I had these same moments of self-doubt and struggle, but I was able to get through it, and here's the reason why. As a leader, when you're trying to motivate your team, talk about those funny times. See, you notice what I do? The first thing I do every time I give a training is I talk about how much I sucked my first year. Because you know what? I want people that are like, yeah, I get it. I suck too. Okay, I want to hear what this guy has to say. Like if I got on and I was like, hey guys, my name's Bob. I build a team of 100,000 people. Look how amazing I am. Don't you want to hear what I have to say? You're like, oh my God, enough of this guy, right? Like I'm over it. But because I talk about my failures, because I'm willing to be vulnerable, it allows me to make a connection with my audience. And if you do the same thing in your business, you'll make a connection with your prospects. You'll make a connection with your team. And that connection that you make, that trust that you will build, will allow you to recruit more people. It will motivate your team to take more consistent action. But all of that has to do with us being willing to getting right back to the original point, facing fears, being willing to put ourselves out there. And listen, here's what I'll tell you. You are in, and I truly believe this, the greatest profession in the world. I truly believe it. Like, where else can someone like me, with somebody who most of my life, by my own admission, I was an underachiever. I mean, I was 30 years old, dead broke, living on my friend's couch when I was first introduced to network marketing. I didn't have a ton of success, right? Where else can someone like me be able to get involved in a business and go out and achieve what I've been fortunate enough and blessed to achieve and make an impact in people's lives the way that I've been able to do that? Every single one of you has the same exact opportunity. Trust me when I tell you, I'm no better than you are. The only difference between me and you, the only difference between you and Jacqueline, the only difference between you and the people in your company that you look up to and admire is time and consistent effort. That's it. That's the only difference. The only difference between you and Jacqueline is she's had 1,000 times more people tell her no. She's had 1,000 times more people tell her it's a scam. She's had 1,000 times more people sign up and then quit, right? It's just, that's a part of the process. You got to learn how to include it, and you got to learn how, at the end of the day, here is the cure-all, and this is the last thing I'll share, and then we'll open it up for some questions. You got to take massive action. You want to know the number one way to get over your fear? Take massive action. You want to know the number one way to create momentum, to feel motivated? Take massive action. Don't wait to feel that way. You got to will yourself, right? Because when you're focused on taking massive action and you're focused on activity and you're so busy, you don't even have time to worry about the results. That's when the magic starts to show up, right? I did this in my own business, right? I put off doing videos for over a year. And I finally forced myself to do my first live video. It was August of 2015. And you know what I did? I knew, I practiced what I preach. I said, the only way I'm going to get over this fear is to take massive action. And I did a video every day for 6 months. That's massive action. At the end of 30 days, I forced myself into getting over that fear. And prospecting is the same thing. If you're afraid to talk to people, then you focus on talking to, 3 to 5 new people every day, or 5 to 10, or for some of you, 1 to 2 would be like a great accomplishment. But just do whatever for you feels like it. Do a little bit more and just focus on that activity. And I promise you, things will start to happen. It's amazing. So Jacqueline, I'll kick it back over to you. I covered pretty much everything that I wanted to, and we'll open it up for some questions, and I'm happy to try to help some people in any other areas that they'd like some assistance.
That was amazing. Yeah, I know we've got a lot of people that have questions, and I just have to say I love how you address fear. I've said my big thing is take whatever you're afraid of, write it down on a sheet of paper, and turn it into your to-do list.
Yeah.
That's what you have to start doing. That's every single day.
So I'll add to that. So we have, when we talk about fear, it's failure, right? So I have this kind of philosophy of my company is that we live in a WTF zone, and a WTF is willing to fail, right? We have a WTF philosophy. And if you're willing to fail, and if you're not afraid of failure, and you understand that failure is a part of success, then I think it helps you change the way that you approach it.
Exactly. Perfect. Okay, so I know we had people that already had questions. So if you guys are on, I'm going to call you out here. Sarah Morton, you had a question here. If you want to pop on and ask it, go for it. Otherwise, I can ask for you.
Hi.
Hey Sarah.
Hi. Thank you for with us. I had a question about what your schedule is for cold messaging, and what your, if you have any tips for that.
My schedule or my script?
Either one. I need to get in the habit of just, we've been having these daily power hours, and I've seen how effective they are, and I need to be able to continue doing that myself.
Yep.
Okay.
So I'll answer it 2 ways. My schedule when I was building my network marketing business was pretty much whenever I was able to. So what I would do, and I think this is another big issue that I think people have, is if you struggle with finding time, right, to do these income producing activities, prospecting, I would argue that time is not your issue. It's a priority issue. Now, I don't deny the fact that some people just have more time that they can commit, but usually it's mismanaged time, which is really the cause of the problem. So what I learned to do when I was when I was still working a full-time career in medical sales, which was very highly demanding of me, I would go into each week and I would schedule business hours. So I started to actually treat my network marketing business just like a job. And I looked at my week and I said, okay, here are the periods of time, and some weeks I had to, during lunch, I had to get out of the office and go to the park and sit in my car and do my prospecting during lunch, right? But I knew that ahead of time. So I think if you're intentional and you schedule these blocks of time when you can do your prospecting, you'll be good. But I'll tell you now, I teach something that's so much more effective. I didn't even have this as an option when I was building a network marketing business, and it's live video. So here's the whole reason why I teach people to do live video. Because if I create a short little 2, 3, 4-minute video, which is really me, not like trying to sell my network marketing company or business or products, whatever, but it's me trying to sell myself. It's me trying to focus on adding value and teaching and educating and entertaining other people, right? Maybe it's if I'm, I know that you guys have amazing products. Maybe it's me starting to educate people, teach them things that I'm learning about good health and nutrition. Not me, hey, you need to buy this product, but it's like, hey guys, I'm not an expert, but I just learned something about this particular, supplement or the importance of drinking water or eating this. And I just wanted to share it with you. If I do a short little video like that, and here's the reason why I'm really doing it, because I'm doing it with the hope that I can attract people to take an action. See, when you're creating videos, that's marketing. Marketing is applied psychology. Marketing is you do something with the hopes that you can get someone to take an action, to come to you. If somebody watches that video and is like, that was actually pretty cool, I'm going to like it. I'm going to share that. I'm going to leave a comment. Every time somebody does that, that is an opportunity for you to reach out and start a conversation. So your videos, your content, should give you easy opportunities every single day to prospect. Now, the question is, well, what's the message? What's the script? It's really simple. Just start a conversation. Say, hey, Mindy, thanks for liking my video. How have you been? It's been a while. Or, hey, Tim, thanks for sharing my video. I realize we've never met before. I see we're friends. Facebook's funny like that. Just wanted to say hello. Start a conversation, right? And what's amazing is if you make your goal conversation and not conversion in that initial message, you will be so much more successful. Now, I'm not saying that you should go down this rabbit hole of like 5 minutes of just kind of meaningless messages where, like, if I've never spoken to Tim before and I'm asking him like, hey, how many kids do you have? He's like, I don't even know you, dude. Why are you asking me about my kids, right? Like, we've all been in those kind of weird conversations where we know this person has an agenda. But if I say, Tim's like, oh, and I'm like, hey, man, I see we have mutual friends, so-and-so. Hey, great. Hey, let me ask you a question, man. I'm an entrepreneur and, may or may not be for you personally, but do you know anybody that might be looking for a career change or possibly some additional income? I'm expanding my business in your area. Or if I know Tim, I might say, hey, man, look, it's been a while. I'd love to catch up. Why don't we hop on the phone? And I get on the phone with him and I feel him out. Or I say, hey, Tim, listen, man, I know last time we talked, you weren't interested, but I wanted to see maybe if the timing was any better for you. I'm just going to put it out there. The worst thing that can happen is Tim's going to say, nah, it's not for me. And I'll be like, all right, no big deal. And I'm just going to continue on with whatever happens. But here's the problem that most network marketers have. They approach messaging on Facebook in such a spammy, turn off kind of way where it's like what I call the copy and paste method of prospecting, which, by the way, if you're doing, and I'm going to just go out on a limb and I'm going to guess you're not being taught that, at least within this community, right? Especially if Jacqueline's been following me. But if you're being taught to like copy and paste these long like sales messages, which here's the worst part, it like makes me want to throw up, where you're pasting your link to your website in the first message you send. Oh my God, please stop. Let me just tell you what happens. All right. Let me tell you what happens if you send a link in an initial message to someone, because I'll tell you what I do. Sometimes people send me these like really long messages, and first thing I do is I scroll through the whole message, and if I see a link anywhere in there, I immediately stop reading the message. I delete it right away. Because in my mind, if someone's not professional enough or doesn't want to at least show enough interest in me that they can at least hold back the sales pitch for like the first message, then I'm not going to dignify that with even my time of reading it, right? Like, I'll give you a good example. I had somebody who like legitimately was somebody that I really valued their relationship. And I really thought that this person was somebody that had some value to offer. I haven't talked to her in over a year. I get a message from her today. Here's what the message said. Hey, Bob, how are you? And then she sends me a image of a flyer of an event, some generic training event that she's speaking at, saying, hey, would you share this? No, I won't. And I'm not even going to respond to you now because you didn't even dignify me with a conversation. And listen, if you don't think that that's happening to the people that you're messaging, you're crazy. See, that's the thing that a lot of network marketers do is they turn people off with these initial messages. Now, I get that it is a delicate balance. You want to be able to strike up a conversation without it being like you've got this agenda. At some point, you do have to get to the point and say, look, may or may not be for you, but I was thinking about you. Would you be open to taking a look at what I'm doing? I'd love to catch up with you. I'd love to share with you what I'm doing. Listen, in my mind, if somebody, like if I say to Mindy, it may or may not be for you. I'd just really love to share with you what I'm doing. Would you be open to that? If she gets offended by that, then she just did me a favor because I don't need her in my life anyway, right? So I think I think I just gave you like a 20-minute answer to like a pretty simple question, but I'm really passionate about this subject of like the way we operate on social media because I truly believe that social media is one of the number one culprits that perpetuates the negative perception of this profession because people are so lazy. They turn to social media out of weakness, thinking if they just go post 3, 4, 5 times a day, that people will start lining up to join them. And that doesn't happen. All it does is it gives those of us that are maybe in that same company that are trying to do things the right way, it makes it harder for us. So I'm a little passionate about that question. Hopefully that helped. I don't even know if I answered your question, but I hope I did.
That was good. Love that. Heather Knott, you on? I know you had a big question that you had posted earlier. Maybe not. Maybe she didn't hear me. Her question was, are you on now?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So my question was, I have a couple of girls on my team who are having a hard time with wanting to post on social media. So how do you help people to get outside of their own comfort zone and to encourage them to be more open and more susceptible to wanting to post on social media?
Okay, good question. What are you teaching them to post? Because that might be the problem.
I've started with like their why is like our kind of big push that we do.
Okay.
So kind of coming up with their why and like why they're choosing to go this route and to kind of relate more with people on that level.
Got it.
It's just more like she doesn't like social media at all. Like,
got it. Okay. So this is a good question, actually. So I think here's the lesson I think in this question is that not every single person that joins our business is going to be at the point where they're ready to just throw themselves in and go right into action, right? And I think just because, here's one of the things that I learned, just because somebody signs up doesn't really mean that they're ready to get to work. Sometimes them signing up is like just the next step in the process for them. So it's like the analogy, like how my mentor used to teach me. He said, Bob, when somebody joins the business, they're in the business, but we got to get to the point where the business is in them. We got to get to the point where they have that belief and confidence in what they're doing and what they're offering and themselves to get out there. So like if somebody and it very well just might be a thing like they just don't do social media. So if I gathered from them that I was facing resistance in that area, I wouldn't want to make that an issue because I don't want to create a negative interaction with them where I'm like arguing with them, because if that happens, they're gone, right? We're building a volunteer army. People choose to be here. So what I would do for that type of person is I'd say, okay, so you're not ready for social media. Well, let's at least start getting you into contacting your people. So in my mind, what I'm thinking, so let's just say that Christy is my new sponsor. I love saying people's names and then they look up and they're like, oh, that's me. That's pretty funny. So let's say that Christy is my new person. And let's just say that she's like, I don't really do Facebook. I don't want to put myself out there like that. And that's okay, because you know what? I got to learn how to meet people where they are. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, all right, like, let's get really urgent here, because if I don't help Christy create a result, if I don't help her recruit someone, if I don't help her get a couple of customers, chances are she might not be around here all that long. So I'm going to do everything I can to try to get Christy to get me in contact with people she knows. Texting, calling, right? It's funny because like when I built like most of my career, 2/3 of my career in network marketing, Facebook wasn't even like a thing really. Like you didn't use Facebook for network marketing. And it's like, but now it's like, that's all people do. Like they don't even call people anymore or see them or talk to them. Right. So it's like, if I had somebody that was resisting that, then I would just say, okay, what do you feel comfortable doing? Do you want to text? Do you want to call? But I would be challenging them to do that, because if I could help her bring in, let's say Jacqueline, and then Jacqueline signed up. Now guys, this is a really powerful leadership tip I'm about to just give you. Jacqueline signs up and she's like, well, shoot, yeah, let's go. What do I need to do? You want me to post on Facebook? Right? She's being coachable. Then guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to work right through Christy and I'm going to start working with Jacqueline. And I'm going to like work with Jacqueline like she was my personal recruit. And I'm going to let not my words, like I'm not going to keep saying, Christy, you need to do this. I'm going to have her watch what Jacqueline does and have that be the thing that motivates her to take action. Because if I can start working with Jacqueline and I'm like, oh my God, Christy, it's so exciting. Jacqueline posted on Facebook today her why, and she got 3 or 4 customers off that. I'm so excited for her. Now notice what I'm doing. I'm not saying, Christy, you need to do it too, because you know what? Here's the thing about sales. People they won't do something just because they need to do it. They do it if they want to do it. And you can't tell, like, people, if you tell them they need to do something, sometimes it'll make them want to do it less. So I have to have Christy come to this on her own that, hey, I should do this. So like if instead of her saying, hey, Christy, you need to do that, I'm saying, Christy, I'm so excited. Jacqueline posted her why today and we got 3 customers. I'm so fired up, and now we got, right. So now Christy's thinking, well, maybe I should do that. Right. But you notice what I'm doing. I'm motivating her through what she sees me doing with her team. One of the biggest things that I learned is you don't work with people, you work through people. Now that doesn't mean you should like just abandon people, but sometimes the thing that motivates people is a fear of loss. So now Christy's watching me work with Jacqueline and she's seeing Jacqueline actually do the things that I'm telling her she should do. And she starts thinking, man, I'm going to miss out if I don't start doing it. The other thing is that sometimes you just have to be able to let people be and come back to them whenever they're ready. I'm always sorting. I always talk about you should sort, not sell. Now that just doesn't happen with prospects. I'm sorting my team. I'm trying to determine who are the people on my team that possess these 3 qualities: a burning desire, a willingness to work, and coachability. Because I will tell you, if somebody doesn't possess all 3 of those things, they're not ready to crush it. You can have all the desire in the world. You could be excited. If you're not willing to work, nothing's going to happen. Or if you've got a burning desire and a willingness to work, but you won't do a damn thing I tell you and you just want to keep doing it your own way, I can't help you. So I'm always looking for the people that deserve my time. I don't want to make, like if Christy is resisting, I don't want to make her feel bad, because I always want her to feel welcomed and I always want that door to be open so that maybe next week something happens and she's like, I got to just start doing what they're telling me, right? Then she can come back to you and feel good about that and say, hey, I need you to show me how to do that thing. So we're always learning as a leader that we have to be welcoming, but we also have to be protective of our time, and we have to learn how to work with people that really deserve our time, not just the ones that want it. Does that make sense?
Wow.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
Well,
Are you still good for
yeah, we got
a couple
time for one more. Yeah.
Okay, one more. Okay, so Rachel Cutright has a loud child, so I'm going to ask for her.
Okay.
So we recently at our convention last month released 2 new products. One, I guess, brand new, one reformulated. And she's wondering how to go about messaging prospects, or I guess they used to be prospects that were a hard no, don't ever contact me again. Would you revisit these new products with them? And if so, how?
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm going to answer it. I'm going to give you the abridged answer, but I'm going to direct everyone. I'm going to do a little shameless self-promotion here. Hopefully you don't mind. I have a podcast. It's called the Your Virtual Upline podcast. And if you go to my website, which is bobheilig.com, HEILIG, I have a section on there for my podcast. I have literally 70 hours of free training on there. But the reason why I'm telling you this is I did an entire 30, 40-minute training on how to launch new products. So literally everything you would need to know that I've ever learned and used is there. I think the episode is called How to Launch a New Product or something like that. So it shouldn't be that hard to find. But I'm going to tell you the big mistake that people make. Just like I talked about earlier, they get so excited about this thing, this piece. See, you've got this piece of information. Doesn't matter. It's something new. It could be a new product, could be a compensation plan change, a new bonus, could be a new video or a new tool, could be a new market, anything new. It's always exciting. You want to go share it with people. The mistake that people make is thinking that by just going to someone with a new piece of information, that's the thing that's going to make them change their mind. It's usually not the information. It's usually either it wasn't the right time for them, or maybe they just didn't see enough value in joining you at that point in time, right? But what I've learned is this. When I have a new piece of information, it's a reason for me to go back to everyone that I've ever talked to check back in and say, but here's what I learned how to do. Instead of just giving it up to them, verbally vomiting over them and just freely giving it away. Here's the new product. You're going to love it. It's so amazing, blah, blah, right? That creates resistance, right? That's called push marketing, right? Oh my God, here's the link. Here's this, here's that. People are like, whoa, right? That creates resistance. So instead of doing push marketing, here's what you do. Pull marketing. Now, what's pull marketing? Well, it's when you take that piece of information and it's funny because it's this subtle dance between the prospect, where if the prospect feels like you need them or want them too much, it makes them want it less. But if you kind of hold it back and you pull it away from them, then it makes them want it more. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. Let's say I reach out to Rachel and I say, hey, Rachel, listen, I know I had to check back in with you. I've been thinking about you. I know the last time we talked that you were not interested in, in my business or the products, but I had to reconnect with you because, I can honestly say I've never been more excited in my life about anything that I've ever done. And, we had a really exciting announcement, and I just thought to myself, if I don't at least reach back out to you and check in with you, if this is half as big as I think it might be, a year from now and you find out where I'm at and I never check back in with you, you may never talk to me again. Right? So what did I just do? Let's break that down, some language. Right? If this goes half as well, or if this is half as big as I think it's going to be, and I didn't come back and say hi, right? So that's very powerful. I said, I've honestly can say I've never been more excited about my future in my life. So what does that do? Well, if Rachel is miserable at her job or she's just not feeling fulfilled and she hears, well, this person's really excited, I want some of that, right? Or now notice what I haven't done so far. I haven't really told her anything. I'm starting to try to create some curiosity. Here's another really valuable thing to do is I could say, Rachel, listen, at the end of the day, it may or may not be for you still, but would you be open to hearing about what we have going on? Would you be open to catching back up and let me share with you what's happening or where I see this thing going? right? So I'm holding it back. I'm not freely giving it, right? It makes them want it more when you don't do what they expect you to do. But what I'm looking to really do is I'm looking to create a fear of loss. I'm looking for Rachel to think, well, shoot, maybe I should jump on this thing now. Sounds like this might be the right time. But anytime you have that new piece of information, it's a reason to go back. Now, let me give you a different approach. This was when I learned this, I was like, man, this is so genius. Like I teach this, it's called the market research approach, where let's say I've got a new product or a new video, whatever, it doesn't matter. I could go to, let's say I go to Shelby, and Shelby's like literally told me no 10 times, right? And the last time she told me no, it was like one of the most negative, worst no's I've ever got. I could still go to Shelby and I could use this approach. I could say, Shelby, listen, I know you're not interested, and let me just be really clear. I'm not trying to recruit you, and I do not want you to be a customer of mine. But here's what I do need is I need your help. We just came out with a new product, and I'm doing some market research, and I need to find 5 people that I know I can trust that will give me an honest appraisal and will try to shoot holes in this thing and not sugarcoat it. And because I know you are real, right? What I'm really trying to say is you're negative, but I'm like, I know that you won't lie to me. And here's what I'm asking. If I give you a sample of this thing, will you try it? And I want you to try to shoot holes in this. Like, tell me it sucks because it'll help me with the marketing, right? You could do that to anybody. The market research person. Hey, we have a new video and the company asked me, or, I'm looking to do some market research. I just want to see what you think. If I send you this video, will you take a look at it? Now, what am I hoping to do? Well, what I'm hoping to do is by getting Shelby in front of something different, something new, maybe it might spark some interest. Maybe her life is a little different where the timing is a little bit better. And because I approached her in a more professional way that didn't raise resistance and push her away, I'm pulling her a little bit. It opens the door for her to feel like she can say, hey, I'm interested. Now, the worst thing that's going to happen is she'll say the same thing she said to me last time. It sucks and I don't want anything to do with it. And I'm like, okay, great. Thanks for the feedback. You just have to be okay with sometimes people will say something like that, and you can't let that influence what you really think about what you do. But I think that to me is so important, is being able to be willing to at least go back. I don't even remember what the initial question was that I was answering. I just realized that I was going to go back to I'm like, I don't even remember what the question was, but hopefully I answered it, and hopefully that was kind of in line with what you wanted.
No, that totally works, and that's absolutely genius. And I'm gonna have to go back and rewind and get this all down.
I remember.
Yeah, the new products.
Go check out the podcast. It's called Launching New Products, and that was one of 5 or 6 different approaches that I give you with some scripts and some language that you can use. So
I will be posting that on the team page this evening. Thank you for that. That's amazing. Awesome. Oh my gosh, Bob, we cannot thank you enough. This was absolutely incredible. I have pages and pages and pages of notes. I feel like I have learned, I was not expecting to learn this much. Man, you blew me away. We were excited, but holy moly, this was awesome. So thank you so much.
Awesome.
We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. And, thank you to all of you that have been supporting me and spreading the word about what I do. I think we're really on to something here with this community. I think we're building a community of people that are trying to build a business for the right way. And we want to change people's perception of this industry by being a force for good and making an impact in the world. So anytime I have a chance to hop on and do this, I'm always grateful. And make sure you check out my website, guys, bobheilig.com. I've got tons of great free training on there, my podcast. And then, almost every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Over on my fan page, which if you just search Your Virtual Upline, I do a training at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard almost every morning, a live training that you can tune into. So once again, I want to thank Jacqueline. Thanks so much for having me. It's been a blast. And if there's anything else I can do to help, let me know.
We're so grateful. Thank you so much, Bob.
Okay,
have a great evening.
See you.